All life began in the deep blue sea. In this magical world, everything is more connected than we had ever imagined. After a lifetime of filming the natural world, I now understand the most important place on Earth is not on land. It's life at its most mesmerizing. And we must open our eyes to what is happening right now, below the waves.
Good to see. Nice picture behind you.
I know. I am mesmerized by this visual. I'll get to that in a while, but this is one of my favorite stills from the documentary. Actually, it's just so surreal. I have to ask you about this later. First things first. Congratulations on the documentary. My only regret is I watch it on small screen and not in the cinemas, because and it's a good thing too, because I'm really afraid of deep waters. I'm one of those guys who cannot watch deep, scenes of deep ocean. Blame it on Steven Spielberg. Okay. You've worked with Sir David for over 40 years. Is there anything new you learned about him while making Ocean?
I think David is one of these huge kind of characters that every time, even though you work with him for a very long time, every time you work with him, that there's always something that kind of comes out. But I think what we really learned on Ocean is the incredible nature of someone who, most of the time we were working with him on this, he was either 87 or 88. And yet we were 97. Just working. Sorry, 90. Oh, God.
I mean, he does look very young.
97 or 98. Yeah, of course, he's 99 now. So, this man in his late 90s, we're working with him. And we the whole film, I mean, we worked with him as if he's a man in his mid 50s, and you just completely forget that he is of that age, and that is quite remarkable. I mean, I don't think I've ever met anyone quite like that, and the fact that he's still so driven, so focused, has such a huge work ethic at this stage in his life is just quite remarkable and very inspirational.
How about you, Colin? Do you have any stories working with Sir David?
Yeah, I mean, it's the funny thing is, I obviously, like many people, watched his programs when I was 10 or 12 years old with my parents, and then to suddenly find yourself working with him is sort of quite extraordinary. I think one of the real geniuses is that he can work on a script, and he's so good with the crew because he spent his lifetime around film crews that you actually all sort of relax. You almost forget you're with this incredible presence because he's so natural around you. And then suddenly he looks up, and I remember some of the scenes we shot on the beach with him, and he just looks up and he delivers this absolutely inch perfect line. The intonation's in exactly the right place, and everybody sort of gets those chills, and you suddenly realize the whole crew's just sort of stood there silent, and that the sort of the combination of being an incredible storyteller, which of course he is, but also having the gravitas of a man who has seen so much of the natural world, is so knowledgeable about it, that when he speaks, it just conveys a power and authority that I don't think there's another human being on Earth that could do on this subject matter.
From the surface, you would have no idea that this is happening. It has remained hidden from view until now. A modern industrial bottom trawler scours the ocean floor with a chain or metal beam, forcing anything it disturbs into the net behind. It smashes its way across the seabed, destroying nearly everything in its path, often on the hunt for just a single species.
And you mentioned the trawling, right? The trawling scene is absolutely horrific. I read in a National Geographic interview that Keith you did. You said you almost didn't want to shoot the scene. You didn't want to, you know. And I was wondering when the footage came in, what was your first reaction? This is before you did your editing. You look at the footage. What was your first reaction when you saw those scenes?
I think we all knew it was going to be bad. You kind of know the process, but I remember being slightly kind of speechless and oh my God, and we, you know, obviously what when we shot it, we put cameras on and they just roll and roll and roll and roll. This stuff goes on for hours, you know, and there's loads of it. And it's a sort of it's a relentless assault on your senses, actually.
Mm.
And I found myself finding I couldn't watch very much of it because I did find it disturbing. And I think when we came to edit it, we were very mindful of that we know it was powerful, but we also know, you know, you have a duty of care to the audience, not to well, you want to show the impact, but you don't want to sort of completely overwhelm people. But I think it's kind of, you know, they say they're images you can't get out of your head once you've seen them, and these are those.
Colin, what was your reaction when you first saw it?
Yeah, it was similar. And the weird thing was, I think like Keith, I'd read all about it. I'd even seen some grainy kind of GoPro footage, which was the only thing we could find. And you just thought, I don't know, I almost routinely opened the clips to start watching it when they came back, and you just find yourself staring at it and staring at it. And every time you think you're sort of slightly sensitized to it, suddenly something else happens, like a ray swims in front of it, or on the dredging scene, you've got like crab being caught on the edge of it, or the rhythm of the teeth digging in. And it's just, yeah, it's shocking, horrible. And I actually felt the same as Keith. I was like, I knew my kids would be watching this. And you're sort of thinking, how do you get the balance of the shock and the just sheer disturbance? Like, how do you, I think that was probably one of the finer tweaking editing jobs, was how long does that go on for, and how do we make it accurate without being so horrible you don't just lose your whole audience because they don't want to watch anymore.
Yeah, it makes me feel guilty about eating seafood now.
Yeah. I mean, and but actually, that's really interesting you say that, because that's the balance. It's one of the things we really wanted to get across again from before we even started writing the script was, I think all of us, I'm sure I can speak for Keith on this, don't want to eat fish that's been bottom trawled. But at the same time, what you really find out as soon as you dig into this is that the best chance of saving the ocean is engaging fishing communities. And that there has to be then some way to catch fish in a way that's not damaging, which of course there are ways of doing it. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. So it's how you get that balance between what we really can't support and allow to continue, stuff like bottom trawling, but actually there has to be some ways for particularly fishing communities that rely on that food to eat, they don't have alternatives, to be able to catch fish in a way that's sustainable. So trying to make that juxtaposition it was again something we really kind of thought hard about in the making of the film.
Okay, this is going to be a tough question for you, Keith and Colin. What are your favorite moments in the documentary? I know this is a tough question. It's like asking who's your favorite child, you know.
Well, okay, I'm going to go for one that I had very little to do with, so it's quite easy to be effusive about it, which was the Papahanaumakuakea, which is the islands off Hawaii. And Toby Nowlan, our co-director, directed that shoot, so I wasn't on it. And but I'd read about this for years. I knew it became a marine protected area. I'd read about it 20 years ago. I knew how destroyed it was before. And I'd seen some images, and I think this is the power of being able to spend time properly filming with incredible cameras and talented cinematographers, is I'd seen some images of the recovery, and I thought it was nice. It was good. It was nice to look at. When I saw these come back, and just the scale of the albatross colony, the richness of the ocean, it just stunned. It bared no resemblance to what I knew had been there 40, 50 years ago, or even any of the pictures I'd seen before. It just looked like Wonderland. And the idea that as soon as I saw it, in the same way that you had the horror from the trawling and you knew that would shock people, as soon as I saw that, I knew that we could convince people of the power of protection. why it matters, because you just look at that and you know that's extraordinary. So I think full credit to the team that did that. That was incredible.
And
Keith?
for me, there is one shot in the film which this amazing guy Doug Anderson shot, which I still marvel at, and it's actually from the Azores, the picture behind you, and it's Doug just jumped in the water. Actually, it was on another bait ball, but he has this huge sei whale coming straight at him, and the sei whale is the third biggest whale in the world. You know, they're massive creatures, but he just frames up this perfect shot. And he's not bothered by the fact that there's this freight train past him. And actually, you can see the tail of the thing. And if that tail whacks you, you're in trouble. But he concentrates, and the whale just goes past. And as opposed to just panning around with the thing, he carries on into this bait ball with all these fish and everything. And then all these tuna start buzzing in front of the shot. And it's all in one shot. And this guy is in complete mayhem. In senses, there's all sorts of, but he can just concentrate on getting the most perfect shot, and it is a perfect shot. And I just marvel at both the scene, but at how this guy can do this thing, because I've been in those bait ball things, and it's mayhem, and it's slightly terrifying. It's awesome but terrifying, but you're kind of looking all over the place. Him to be so focused on this is what I'm going to do. Anyway, it's a great moment in the film, and it's a great achievement by an amazing man.
If we save the sea, we save our world. The ocean, our final frontier.